she called, voice shaking. "I'll be late. Overtime again." I replied, "Don't rush. Your family is watching you work overtime." Then the line went silent. Because in that moment, she finally understood what I'd already done and why there was no way back. She called, voice shaking, "I'll be late. Overtime again." I replied, "Don't rush. Your family is watching you work overtime." Finally, Lena whispered, "What do you mean?" I could hear the city in the background on her end traffic, a distant horn, muffled music. Not a quiet office, not a break room, not fluorescent lights and copier hum. I said, "I mean, your mom is here, so is Dawn, Steve's here too, they're waiting. I told them you'd be home soon." Silence again. Different this time, not shocked, not confused. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Cornered. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. "You did that on purpose," she said. I smiled a little, but I kept my voice flat. "Don't be dramatic." "You can't," she started, then stopped. Her breathing got fast. "Evan, please, don't do this right now." There it was, not denial, not outrage, not, "What are you talking about?" Just please. Funny how the truth always arrives already dressed. "I'm not doing anything," I said. "We're just having dinner." A small sound, like she'd covered the mouthpiece with her hand, like she'd turned away. Then the line went silent. I lowered the phone and looked around my kitchen, around the cheap plates and the family photos and the half-empty fruit bowl. Everything was where it belonged, except my life. From the living room, her mother called, "Everything okay, honey?" I took one breath, then another. "Yeah," I said. "She's running late." I could feel their eyes on me, waiting for the story. I didn't give it to them. I set the phone down, face up on the counter, the screen dark, and I started cutting the casserole like it mattered, because the game had officially started. When Lena finally came home, it was close to 10. Her family had left hours ago, polite and disappointed, carrying foil-wrapped leftovers and questions they didn't dare ask out loud. She walked in smelling like cold air and perfume, not her usual soft vanilla, something sharper, like she'd borrowed it. Her hair was a little too perfect for someone who'd been working overtime. Her eyes did that quick scan of the room people do when they're checking for traps. The house looked the same. That's the thing about betrayal. Most of the time it doesn't change the furniture. She kicked off her shoes. "So you called my mom," she said. "I invited her," I corrected. Her mouth twisted. "Why?" I took my time setting a plate into the dishwasher. The plate clinked against another plate. Small sound, big echo. "You've been saying overtime for 3 weeks," I said. "I figured we should celebrate. Families love celebration." "That's not funny." "I'm not laughing." She stopped near the hallway table where our keys hung on hooks. She didn't take hers down. She just stood there, hands loose at her sides, as if she was ready to bolt. "You embarrassed me," she said. I turned and leaned back against the counter. "You embarrassed you." Her eyes flashed. "What do you think you know?" I shrugged. "Enough." "That could mean anything," she said, and she tried to smile like she was in control. "You're making things up because you're paranoid." I looked at her for a long moment. 10 years of marriage gives you a catalog of expressions. The fake smile, the defensive blink, the way she lifted her chin when she wanted to feel taller than she was. "You were at Riverstone Bar," I said. Her face changed. Not much. A tightening around the eyes. A small pause like a dropped beat in a song. "You were following me?" "No." I kept my voice calm. "You were posted." Her mouth opened, then shut. Dawn had tagged her on a photo 2 nights earlier. A group shot, friends, music, drinks. Lena's arm around a man in a dark jacket, close enough that it wasn't an accident. The caption said, "Work hard, play hard." The kind of lie you can laugh at when you don't know you're laughing at your own life. "You don't get to police me," she said. "You don't own me." "I don't want to," I said. "I just want the truth." She snorted. "The truth? The truth is I'm tired of you. I'm tired of being married to a man who watches life instead of living it." "And the overtime?" She crossed her arms. "Sometimes I work late." "Not at Riverstone." Her cheeks flushed. Anger was safer than fear. Anger gave her somewhere to stand. "Fine," she said. "You want the truth? I'm seeing other men. You don't get a vote." She waited for me to explode, for my face to go red, for a fist to hit a wall. She wanted a scene because scenes are familiar. Scenes are something you can point at later and say, "See?" That's why I had to do it. My throat felt tight, but I didn't give her the scene. I nodded once. "Okay," I said. She blinked. "What?" "Okay," I repeated. The word landed in the kitchen between us, like a coin dropped on tile. Small, sharp, final. She laughed, uneasy. "Okay, that's it?" "That's it," I said. Her laugh gone. She looked at me like she was trying to find the trick. "You're being weird." "I'm being honest," I said. "You told me what you're doing. I heard you." She stepped closer. "So you're just... what? Giving up?" I didn't answer that. Instead, I said, "You should sleep in the guest room tonight." Her brows shot up. "Excuse me?" "Please," I said. "Take the guest room." She stared at me. I could see the calculation in her eyes. If she fought, it became a fight. If she agreed, it became real. Finally, she said, "Whatever," and she walked down the hall. I stood in the kitchen alone for a long time. The clock kept ticking. There were 2 clocks in our house, one in the kitchen, one in our bedroom. That night, they weren't in sync. One was running ahead, one behind, and both sounded like a countdown. The next morning, I went to work like nothing had happened. I drank gas station coffee. I answered emails. I nodded at my supervisor when he asked about a claim file that was overdue. I'd spent the last decade being the steady one, the quiet one, the man who didn't raise his voice, the man people forgot was in the room until they needed him to fix something. That morning, I used that talent like a weapon. At lunch, I drove to a small office park and walked into a law firm that smelled like toner and lemon cleaner. The receptionist didn't look up right away. When she did, she smiled because she was trained to smile. "Can I help you?" "I need to talk to someone about a divorce," I said. Saying it out loud didn't make me cry. It didn't make my hands shake. It just made the air feel denser. 2 hours later, I walked out with a folder. Inside were lists and timelines and instructions. Not dramatic, not romantic, just practical, like planning a funeral while the person is still breathing. On the drive home, I stopped at my bank. I opened a new account. I changed my direct deposit. The teller asked if everything was okay. I told her yes, because the lie was faster. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with a legal pad. I wrote down dates. I wrote down lies. I wrote down what was mine and what was ours, and what could be proved without turning into a cartoon villain. No hacking, no secret cameras, no breaking into phones, just the things a husband on the same phone plan could legally see. Just the public posts she'd forgotten were public, just receipts and calendar invites and the dull truth of time. I also packed a box. Not her stuff. Mine, my grandfather's watch, my birth certificate, the deed packet from when I bought the house before Lena, before vows, before the idea that love automatically meant shared ownership, a thumb drive with scanned documents, 2 photo albums I couldn't replace. I slid the box into the trunk of my car and locked it. When Lena came home, she acted like the night before hadn't happened. She moved through the house, humming. She kissed my cheek on her way to the fridge, quick and light, like a test. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. She studied me. "You're being too calm." I kept my eyes on the mail I was sorting. "Should I be screaming?" She shrugged. "Most people would." I nodded like I was considering it. "Most people aren't me." She rolled her eyes and walked away. Later, in the bathroom, I heard her on the phone. Her voice was low, sweet in a way it never was with me anymore. "I can't," she whispered. "He's being weird." A man's voice murmured something I couldn't hear. Lena laughed softly. "No, he doesn't know. He's just sulking." I stared at myself in the mirror. My face looked the same, but my eyes didn't. In horror movies, the monster usually shows up with teeth. In real life, it shows up with paperwork. By the end of the week, Lena stopped trying to pretend. She didn't flaunt it in the house, not exactly, but she didn't hide either. She'd leave in the evening to meet a friend. She'd come back with her lipstick slightly off. She'd shower right away, water running like a confession. At the grocery store, she pushed the cart like we were still a couple. She'd reach for my hand in the frozen aisle, and I'd step just far enough away that her fingers met air. She'd glare like I'd embarrassed her. At her sister Dawn's birthday dinner, she made a joke at my expense in front of everyone. "Evan's so predictable," she said, lifting her wine glass. "If the world ends, he'll still be paying the electric bill on time." People laughed. I smiled. I let them. Silence is camouflage. Let them think you're harmless. In the parking lot afterward, Dawn's boyfriend, some kid with too much hair, Gel, slapped me on the shoulder. "You're a good sport, man," he said. "Thanks," I said. Lena watched me from the passenger seat while I drove. Her foot tapped like a metronome. When we got home, she shut the car door harder than she needed to. "You're not going to do anything, are you?" she asked. I hung my keys on the hook. "About what?" she scoffed. "Don't play dumb." "I'm not," I said. "I'm playing quiet." She stepped closer, eyes narrowed. "If you tell anyone—" "I already told your family you were working overtime," I said. "That didn't go the way you wanted, did it?" Her jaw tightened. "That was petty." "It was accurate," I said. She opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time, I saw a crack in her confidence. It wasn't guilt. Lena didn't do guilt the way normal people did. It was annoyance mixed with worry, like a customer realizing the store might actually close at 5 and they've still got shopping to do. That night, when she thought I was asleep, she slipped into our bedroom and took something from the drawer of my nightstand. I heard the soft slide of wood. I heard her quiet breathing. When she left, I waited 3 minutes. Then I opened the drawer and checked. My spare key to the house was gone. I stared at the empty spot in the drawer and I felt my calm go colder. Not smarter, just louder, I reminded myself. Lena was not smarter. She was just used to taking what she wanted. On Monday, I took the afternoon off work. I told my supervisor I had a family appointment, which was true in a way. I drove to Lena's office building and parked across the street, not in the lot, not where anyone could claim I was stalking, just in a public space, watching a public entrance, the way a person watches a train schedule. The building was glass and steel and optimism, a property management company with a name that sounded like it sold dreams. Lena was client relations, which meant she smiled at angry tenants and promised things she couldn't deliver. At 4:30, she came out with a man. He was taller than I expected. Dark jacket, clean shoes, hair that looked like it had never met a cheap shampoo. He walked with that confident stride some men practice in the mirror. He touched Lena's elbow as they crossed the sidewalk, guiding her like she was precious. Lena laughed at something he said. It was the laugh she used in photos. They headed toward the parking garage. I followed at a distance, keeping my hands loose on the steering wheel. My heart beat harder than I wanted it to. Inside the garage, the air smelled like exhaust and old concrete. The echo made every footstep sound like a decision. They stopped near a black SUV. The man leaned in close, his hand on Lena's waist. That was the moment my body wanted to move, to close the distance, to do something simple and stupid. Instead, I took a breath and walked past them like I was just another commuter. The man saw me. I felt his eyes on my back. Lena saw me too, and her face flickered. I kept walking. Behind me, I heard her call my name. Evan? I didn't turn. Footsteps hurried after me. The man's voice followed. Who's that? Lena's laugh too loud echoed off the concrete. Nobody. Nobody. I walked to my car, got in, and sat there with my hands on the wheel until my knuckles turned white. He thinks I'm scared. That's adorable. As I drove out, I saw them in my rearview mirror. Lena was talking fast, her hands moving. The man's posture was stiff. He was listening, measuring. Good, I thought. Let him wonder. 2 days later, I called Lena's mother, not to expose anything, not yet, to ask a question. Hi, Marjorie, I said. Do you have a second? Her voice brightened. Evan, sure, honey. Everything okay? Yeah, I said. I just wanted to check about something. Lena said you needed help with those medical bills again, the ones from a few years back. There was a pause. Medical bills? Marjorie repeated, confused. The hospital, I said, keeping my tone casual. From when Steve had that heart scare. Lena said the insurance didn't cover everything. Another pause, longer. In the background, I heard a television and the clink of dishes. Honey, Marjorie said slowly, Steve's insurance covered that. We paid our deductible years ago. Why? My stomach tightened. I stared at the wall above my desk where a framed photo of Lena and me sat, smiling on a beach like idiots. Oh, I said. Maybe I misunderstood. Marjorie's voice went sharp. Evan, what's going on? Nothing, I lied. Just making sure. I hung up and sat there in the quiet. 3 years ago, Lena had come to me with tears in her eyes. She'd said her stepdad was behind on bills, that they were drowning, that she couldn't bear it. She'd asked if we could use the savings we'd built, money meant for a down payment on a bigger place, maybe kids someday to help. I'd said yes. Of course I'd said yes. I'd wired the money. I'd felt proud of being the kind of husband who showed up. And now Marjorie had just told me there were no bills. The affair wasn't new. It wasn't a sudden mistake. It wasn't I got lonely. It overlapped with the time she'd looked me in the eyes and used my love like a bank account. The horror wasn't in the cheating. The horror was in the years of it. That night, Lena came home and tossed her purse onto the chair like she owned the air in the room. You called my mom, she said. I didn't look up from the folder on the table. She called me back. Lena's face went pale for half a second. Then she recovered. Why are you talking to her about our money? Our money? I finally looked at her. You mean the money you said was for Steve's hospital bills? Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I smiled, small and cold. Don't worry, I said. I'm sure you had a reason. She took a step back like I'd slapped her without touching her. Cliffhangers are supposed to be dramatic. This one was just a quiet truth settling into place. The next morning, I went to the hardware store. Not for rope, not for a bat. I'm not that guy. I bought moving boxes, packing tape, and a new lock for my filing cabinet. The cashier asked if I was moving. I said, something like that. In the parking lot, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You need to stop. No name, no emoji. Just that. I stared at it for a moment. Then I typed back. Who is this? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Grant, the message finally said. Lena's with me. Don't make this ugly. So that was his name. I didn't answer. That afternoon, Lena's company had a tenant appreciation event at a downtown hotel. She'd mentioned it in passing like it was boring, like it didn't matter. I went anyway, not inside. I waited outside in my car, parked legally, watching the entrance. At 6:15, Grant's black SUV rolled up to the valet stand. He handed the keys to the valet and walked inside, laughing at something on his phone. A minute later, a second car arrived. Lena stepped out, smoothing her dress, smiling like she was about to be photographed. She didn't see me. I watched her go in. Then I did something simple. I walked to the valet podium and pointed across the street. Someone left a car in the fire lane, I told the attendant. Black SUV. Plates end in 92. The valet frowned. That's a tow risk. I figured you'd want to know, I said, and I walked away. 10 minutes later, a tow truck eased into the lane like a shark. The operator checked the sign. The valet argued half-heartedly. The chain clinked. The SUV lifted. When Grant came out 20 minutes later, he wasn't laughing anymore. He stood on the curb in his nice jacket, staring at the empty space where his car had been. People turned to look. Someone whispered. A couple of tenants snickered. Grant's face went red. He snapped at the valet. He snapped at his phone. He snapped at the air. Lena came out behind him, her smile already fading. I didn't approach. I didn't wave. I just sat in my car and watched the humiliation spread across their faces like a stain. It was legal. It was deniable. It was exactly what a fire lane sign promised. First strike, without a scratch. Later that night, I ran into Grant at the gym. He was in the lobby talking to the front desk. He turned when he saw me, and for a second his eyes looked almost relieved. Like, finally, here's the villain I can punch. He walked straight up to me. You think you're funny? He said. I set my gym bag down. Do I look like I'm laughing? You got my car towed, he said. I reported a car in a fire lane, I said. The city did the rest. His jaw worked. You're messing with my life. You're in my life, I said. He stepped closer. I could smell his cologne, expensive and angry. You don't know who you're dealing with, he said. I leaned in just enough that he could hear me without anyone else hearing. I'm the man who says okay when you expect him to beg, I said softly. That should scare you more than yelling. He flinched like the words had touched him. Behind him, the front desk clerk glanced up, sensing trouble. I lifted a hand in a polite little wave to her, then picked up my bag and walked past Grant. I heard him mutter something under his breath. I didn't turn around. The day I started packing, Lena noticed. She came home early and found boxes stacked in the living room, labeled in black marker, Evan, papers, clothes. Her eyes widened. What is this? Me leaving, I said. You can't just leave, she snapped. This is our house. I bought it, I said. Her laugh was sharp. Oh my God, you're really doing this. I taped a box shut and set it by the door. You told me you're seeing other men, I said. I heard you. She stepped closer, hands out like she was trying to grab the moment and squeeze it back into shape. Evan, she said, softer. Don't be like this. I looked at her. Like what? Cold, she said. Petty. I almost smiled. You mean prepared. Her eyes flashed. We can fix this. I shook my head. No. That night, she came into the guest room wearing the old t-shirt of mine she knew I liked, hair damp like she'd just showered. She sat on the edge of the bed and touched my knee. I was wrong, she whispered. I moved her hand off me, gently like removing a spider. She swallowed. We've been together a long time. So has your lie, I said. Tears appeared in her eyes, quick and practiced. You're going to ruin me. I shrugged. I'm not doing anything. She wiped her cheek, angry now. You're telling people you told my mom. I asked a question, I said. The answer wasn't my fault. She stood up, shaking. You're doing this to punish me. Yes, I said. The word came out clean. No shout, no tremble, just yes. Lena stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. Maybe she was. She stormed out. I heard the bedroom door slam. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed with another text from Grant. Meet me, tomorrow. Parking garage. We need to talk. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Because the next day was scheduled. I moved out on a Friday. No midnight escape. No suitcase sprinting down the driveway. I rented a small storage unit, signed a lease on a cheap apartment, and took what mattered: documents, clothes, anything I couldn't replace. I left the rest in the house like shed skin. On the kitchen table, I left one envelope. Divorce filing. A short note. You wanted freedom. Here it is. Lena called 8 times. I didn't pick up. On the 9th call, I answered. What did you do? She demanded. I filed, I said. You can't. I already did, I said, and hung up. 20 minutes later, her headlights filled my rearview mirror on the highway. She wasn't just following. She was chasing lane changes, impatience, that desperate belief that speed can fix a decision. I didn't race her. I didn't play games. I took the next exit and drove toward the industrial strip where my storage unit was, because it was public, lit, and full of cameras. She slipped in behind me before the gate shut. The lot smelled like warm asphalt. The office window glowed. A manager sat inside with a clipboard and the bored look of someone who's seen every version of human drama. Lena stormed up to me. You planned this, she hissed. Yes, I said. Her eyes flicked to my unit. What's in there? Truth, I said. She grabbed my sleeve, nails digging in. Give me my life back. I peeled her fingers away slowly. You gave it away. A car rolled into the lot. Black sedan. The door opened and Grant stepped out. Lena's face brightened like a switch flipped. See, she said. He's here. Grant walked up, stopping short when he noticed the cameras and the lit office. His confidence stuttered. What is this? He said. I held up a manila envelope. This is the report I filed today, I said. Ethics complaint, policy violation, dates, public photos, witness names, nothing hacked, nothing stolen. Lena's smile gone. You did what? Grant's jaw clenched. You can't do that. I can, I said. And I did. He stepped closer, then stopped, like he'd run into an invisible fence. You want money? He asked. You want me to pay you to shut up? No, I said. I want you out of my life. Lena grabbed his arm. He's bluffing, she whispered, but her voice was thin. I turned my phone so they could see the new notification. Corporate compliance. Case received. Grant stared at it. His throat worked. No words came out. The manager opened the office door. Everything okay out here? He called. All good, I said. Just exchanging property. Grant looked at Lena, and something selfish slid across his face, cold, calculating. I told you this was risky, he said to her. Lena blinked. What? Grant backed toward his car. This isn't my problem, he muttered, already retreating. Lena reached for him. Grant. He didn't look back. He drove out. In the empty space he left behind, Lena's belief finally collapsed. Her boss, her safety net, her future, gone at the first sign of consequence. I reached into my trunk and handed her a small box of keys. The spare she'd stolen from my drawer was on top. I noticed it missing, I said, so I replaced the locks. Her hands shook as she held the keys like they were foreign. You ruined everything, she whispered. No, I said. I stopped pretending you hadn't. By Tuesday, Lena was on administrative leave. That was the polite phrase for a leash. She called me with a voice that didn't know how to bargain anymore. We need to talk, she said. In person. I already did, I told her. I said okay. You just didn't understand what it meant. She swallowed. I have nowhere to go. Then choose carefully, I said. She said the investigators wanted her badge and laptop. They'd asked about the hotel, the late nights, the overtime that never produced a paycheck. She sounded offended, like consequences were a technical glitch. I listened, because listening costs nothing. Outside my window, rain tapped the glass like impatient fingers. I didn't offer comfort. I offered time. Then I told her the only truth I owed her. Bring what you want to keep. Everything else is already gone. Tonight, she asked for one thing, her important stuff from the house, clothes, keepsakes, the things people cling to when their story falls apart. I agreed to meet her at the house that night. Not for romance, not for closure, for logistics. When they arrived, it was after 9. The neighborhood was quiet, porch lights glowing like sleepy eyes. The house was mostly empty inside, no couch, no photos on the walls, nothing soft, just echoes. Lena walked in first, holding her keys like they might melt. Grant followed behind her, shoulders tight, face washed out. He didn't look like a man in charge. He looked like a man waiting for a verdict. "We're here," Lena said, trying to sound confident. I pointed toward the kitchen. A folding table sat there under the harsh ceiling light. On it was a small cardboard box. Grant's eyes locked on it. "What's that?" "Open it," I said. He hesitated. Then he pulled the flaps apart. Inside were 3 things. First, a printed org chart Lena had left on our home printer weeks ago. Grant's name sat in the middle, boxed in, replaceable, with supervisors stacked above him like weight. Second, the company policy on relationships and disclosure, highlighted in yellow where the consequences were spelled out in plain words. Third, a certified envelope addressed to Grant at his home address. Grant's hands shook when he lifted it. "Where did you get this?" he asked, voice small. Lena frowned. "What is that?" "Open it," I told him. He tore it and read. His face emptied. Not anger, not swagger, just blank. Lena grabbed his arm. "Grant!" He swallowed hard. "She filed," he whispered. Lena blinked. "Filed what?" Grant's voice cracked. "Divorce." The word hit the room like a dropped tool. Lena turned to me, eyes wild. "You did this!" I shook my head once. "No," I said. "I didn't do anything you didn't start." Grant backed away from the table like it was hot. "You contacted her," he said. "I didn't have to," I said. "Your life was public. Your lies were just loud." He made a raw sound in his throat and looked at Lena, not with love, not with loyalty, but with blame. "I told you," he muttered. "I told you to stop pushing." Lena stared at him like she was seeing the real face under the cologne. "You're married," she whispered, like the word tasted wrong. Grant didn't answer. He couldn't. I slid one last item from the box and set it on the table, a copy of my divorce, filing dated, stamped, real. Lena's breath caught. I already did it," I said. "That's the part you never respected. When I move, I don't announce it. I just move." She looked around the empty house, the bare walls, the echoing rooms. Her stage was gone, her audience was gone. Her backup plan was shaking in front of her. For the first time, Lena looked irrelevant in her own life. She whispered, "You planned all this." "Yes," I said. Her voice went thin. "You're a monster." I stepped closer, close enough that she could hear me over her own heartbeat. "No," I said. "I'm your mirror." I walked to the front door, opened it wide, and held it there. "Go," I said. Grant stumbled out first, still clutching the torn envelope like it might change if he stared hard enough. Lena followed, slower, keys biting into her palm. I didn't watch them walk away. I closed the door. The latch caught with a clean, final click.